Hey everyone, welcome back. So, have you ever just looked around a room and felt this sudden, almost overwhelming need to just throw everything away? Well, today in this explainer, we're unpacking a really fascinating behavioral pattern that so many of us do, the seemingly simple act of aggressively purging our belongings. We're going to look way past the surface level aesthetics of a tidy room and actually uncover the hidden, incredibly complex psychological blueprint of why we truly do this. I want you to ask yourself and really think about this for a second. Do you constantly feel the urge to just toss things out? Do you find yourself actually preferring completely empty, sparse spaces over keeping any extra stuff around? Maybe you get this itch to grab a massive garbage bag and start clearing out closets the second you've had a really long, stressful week, usually right when you're supposed to be doing your taxes. It's a super specific drive. Now, to anyone watching you do this, it probably just looks like you're an incredibly organized person. But the psychology we're looking at today tells a vastly different story. Your mind is actually doing this for a much deeper, highly systemic reason. Okay, let's dive into this. Society generally slaps a label on this behavior, calling it extreme minimalism. It's trendy, it's a very cool lifestyle aesthetic right now, but the psychological data totally reclassifies it as something else entirely: anxiety management. Constantly purging your belongings is, for a lot of people, a highly effective, deeply subconscious psychological strategy. It's not about how the room looks to your guests. It is 100% about how that room feels to your nervous system. What we're really talking about here is a highly structured coping mechanism that's just disguised as a cleaning habit. To really understand why this works, we gotta look at the first layer of this blueprint, which is visual stress. Our sources highlight an absolutely critical psychological understanding. Physical space directly affects mental space. It's a literal biological and sensory reality. You are highly sensitive to the environment around you. See, your brain doesn't just look at a stack of mail or a crowded shelf as neutral objects. It processes them as data points. It's kind of like trying to read a complicated book while a TV is just blaring in the background. When there are too many objects, your brain has to work overtime just to exist in that room. The mind and your physical environment aren't separate things. They're in a constant, really dynamic conversation with one another. Let's move to and see how this builds, because this is the exact mechanical process of how it plays out in your nervous system. Step 1. The research tells us that clutter literally overstimulates the brain. It actively increases your stress by demanding visual attention. Step 2. Because of that overstimulation, keeping extra items around creates what psychology refers to as a constant low-level tension. Think of it like a computer with way too many tabs open. It's running hot, the fan is spinning, and it's draining your battery in the background. Step 3. Throwing things out instantly removes that mental pressure. By physically removing those objects, you're literally clicking close on all those background tabs. And man, when you close those tabs, you get this immediate biological payoff. It's perfectly captured in this quote from our sources: a quiet sense of relief. I mean, just think about how powerful that contrast really is. You go from a state of constant humming, low-level tension, which is generated just by the physical objects around you, directly into a state of total quiet relief simply by tossing things in a donation bin or a trash bag. That empty space, it isn't just empty. It is the literal absence of psychological pressure. It's an absolute breath of fresh air for an overstimulated brain. Which brings us to the second layer of this blueprint. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer contrast. Life itself can honestly feel completely unpredictable and super messy. You can't control the traffic. You can't always control your workload. And you definitely can't control the sudden actions of other people. But you can create a highly restricted, completely controlled environment of your own making. When the outside world feels chaotic, that sudden urge to purge isn't just about tidying up. It's about actively carving out a personal sanctuary of absolute predictability. And this taps directly into a deeply fundamental human drive: regaining control. When you heavily restrict what you own, you're basically giving your brain something it can actively and completely control. Getting rid of items creates this incredibly tangible, immediate sense of stability, exactly when other things in your life feel terribly uncertain. You might not be able to fix that super stressful situation at work, but you can absolutely dictate exactly how many objects are allowed to exist on your kitchen counter. It is a highly effective way of anchoring yourself when the waters of life get rough. The data highlights something really profound here too. When you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, throwing things away literally acts as a powerful, hyper-targeted coping mechanism. The physical act of decluttering is a physical manifestation of processing difficult emotions. You're shedding the excess in your physical world simply because you feel totally overwhelmed by the excess of stress in your internal world. So, the crucial point is that the ultimate goal of heavily curating and controlling your physical environment is literally to regain emotional balance. It is profound nervous system regulation, guys. Every single time an item is removed from your space, the nervous system downregulates just a little bit more. The emptiness isn't some stylistic interior design choice, it's the medication. It's the exact tool being used to bring the mind all the way back down to a baseline of calm and equilibrium. But wait, it actually goes way beyond just reacting to stress in the moment. The sources introduce this truly beautiful, completely proactive concept called the architecture of absence. It's essentially the conscious construction of a life where the lack of physical things is built into the very foundation. It acts as a shield against the chaos of the world before that chaos can even reach you. It's a psychological blueprint designed purely as a preventative measure against stress. And this brilliantly illustrates the core logic of that architecture. It's simple, really. Fewer attachments mean fewer things that can cause you stress. This right here is the conceptual anchor of the entire behavior. Think about it. If you don't own it, it can't break. It can't require tedious maintenance on a Sunday afternoon. It literally cannot be stolen, and it absolutely cannot demand your visual or emotional attention. In this specific psychological framework, abundance is actually perceived as a threat. It's a liability of future stress. Absence, on the other hand, that feels incredibly safe. Emptiness is security. So, when we zoom out and look at the complete psychological blueprint of compulsive purging, we see three distinct pillars. Number one, relieving visual stress by removing the physical items that overstimulate the brain and cause all that low-level tension. Number two, regaining control and emotional balance in a messy, unpredictable world by dictating exactly what exists in your personal space. And finally, number three, preventing future loss and future stress by intentionally minimizing your attachments. It's a highly complex, incredibly logical survival strategy for the modern mind. It goes so far beyond that simple label of extreme minimalism. Which leaves us with a pretty lingering question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. The next time you feel that sudden, overwhelming urge to just grab a trash bag and clear out a room, I want you to ask yourself, are you just organizing your space, or are you actually managing your anxiety? It's a really powerful distinction that can entirely change how you view your own daily habits. Now, if you want to keep unpacking these fascinating behavioral patterns with us, be sure to subscribe for more real psychology insights. Because honestly, once you understand the hidden blueprints behind our actions, you truly start seeing human behavior in a completely different way. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.